Welcome to the channel, Green Thumb, Black Thumb, where I am Black Thumb and my name is Karen. So today, you guys, I'm going to show you how my corn is doing. We're going to get into some of the problems I'm already having with it and some of the successes. So let's do it. In the nice warm weather, here it all is. The reason I need to hurry up and get my self-wicking bed done because these guys are growing and they're not gonna stop. All right, it's corn planting time. So here's what I've done. I have marked out my bed. So you can see I've already started with one. I'm gonna plant these guys and I've got another couple of trays to go. But I just wanted to show you that on here, I've marked out these little X's. Ignore the lines because that's where I miscounted because, you know, I can't count, I guess. But these little X's every 16 inches here. And I've done so, I started at 6 inches, so it wouldn't be right near the next to the edge. But I've also done that over here. And on this side, I actually started at the 16-inch mark. And I'm working my way down, all the way down. I believe that gave me 35 plants. I can't remember exactly. But in any case, I thought I'd go ahead and show you what I'm doing to plant my corn. So I'm using the tape measure, not to actually measure since I've already done that, but I've just started at the first X and I put it down at the other X so I'd be sure to have a straight line. And I'm going down and planting my corn every 16 inches on the X. I'm just gonna dig my hole here and squish the corn. This is if you can't direct sow, and at the time I didn't have my bed ready. I would have rather direct sowed, but so I just dig the hole, squishing it in there. It's a super simple transplant, and that's all there is to it. You know, pack the dirt firm around it so that the roots have contact with the soil. Sorry about the train in the background, guys. All right, where was I? I think I was busy saying something about compacting the soil firmly but not too hard against the roots of the transplants, and that goes for any transplant, so that they make contact with the soil so that they can absorb the water and the nutrients. All right, so I'm done planting my little cornfield here, my wicking water bed, so we're committed. Hopefully this experiment works. I'm pretty excited to see how it's going to go. I had 30 corn plants. It turns out I was able to fit 35. So in this very naked row right here, I planted 5 more corn seeds, and hopefully, since they'll only be a week behind these guys, they'll probably catch up just fine in the end. All right, you guys, I want to give you an update on my corn here. It is doing really great. I have only filled the water reservoir one time, and that was in the beginning about a week ago. And the corn is doing great. I am top watering it right now just because it's so little. The baby roots aren't probably yet reaching the water reservoir below, but keeping that soil moist at the bottom can only help right now. The soil, as you can see here, these are 6-inch boards, 2x6s. I made this whole bed. It looks terrible, but I made this whole bed out of scrap wood. These are fence slats, I guess, that came off of an old fence, and the wood came from an old playhouse that we had for our kids. But so I'm doing this on the cheap, y'all. Anyhow, the corn is doing really great. I can definitely define of the space that I had here where I direct sowed those 5 seeds. I have 1 here, I have 2 here, I have 3 here. I have not seen yet the other 2 come up, so let's keep our fingers crossed to those guys. But everybody else is doing great. They've grown a lot in just a short almost week since they've been transplanted. Good morning, everybody. So I want to give you an update on my wicking bed today. It's been a week since I've transplanted my corn, and they are doing great. I've filled the wicking bed only once, and that was initially when I planted the corn. And so I want to show you how they're doing. I'm also experimenting with something else, which I'll show you when we go over there. But even though the plants are really little, and because of that, I've been watering it from the top daily until the roots get big enough to kind of reach down more to where the water reservoir part. And but despite that, the soil has stayed really moist a little deeper down, and that's a really great sign. I'm very happy to see that. So let me take you over here and we'll look at what else I'm doing with the wicking bed, and we'll see how the corn plants are doing. And just real quick, there's my garden pickle. Good morning, pickle. Good morning. Yes, he helps me every day in the garden. He's my good luck garden pickle. All right, let's go to the garden. All right, here they are. So you can see they've grown quite a bit. Pretty happy with that. Now the other things you see in there that aren't corn, so obviously this is the corn, this is not. And that is buckwheat. And I decided I'm gonna plant buckwheat all throughout here. And they're just now starting to all come up. The reason being, I was gonna put cardboard and mulch down, but then I thought, no, I'm not gonna do that. I decided I'm gonna co-plant a cover crop. So it's not really a cover crop, it's a co-crop. And since buckwheat is a nitrogen fixer in the soil, I thought, well, you know, the corn is such a heavy nitrogen eater. The buckwheat's not going to help the corn because it's going to fix its own nitrogen. But the buckwheat will fix nitrogen as it grows. And then eventually the buckwheat, when I cut the corn down, cut the buckwheat down, then the nitrogen that was fixed in the soil from the buckwheat will be there for the next crop I put in. And I'm just wondering if, like, co-cropping, I don't know what else to call it, co-cropping, not cover cropping, not, I don't know, not fertilizing. I mean, I thought, you know, hey, this is a great way to kind of prepare the bed while the current crop is growing. So yeah, I'm gonna have to keep feeding the corn because it's a heavy eater, heavy drinker. It's just sort of like that. But the buckwheat, I thought, let's see if I can prepare this for the next crop. I can't remember what I decided to put in this bed after the corn is done, but it'll be ready for the next crop in terms of nitrogen anyway. I hope. Keep my fingers crossed. When you're growing corn, you really want to kind of stick to one variety, and I'll explain more about that. All right, so let's go check the corn out. Today is, I believe, August 30th, pretty sure. Could be September 1st, but I think it's the 30th. And I planted my corn seeds on August 9th. And then I transplanted them out to this bed on the 22nd. And so here is what they're looking like at this point. What I wanted to show you about the corn is I am starting to have a little bit of a problem with it. Here's a good one to show you. Can you see down in here that kind of dirt looking stuff? That's called frass. And frass is basically caterpillar poo. Okay, y'all, so here is the frass from, there's the culprit too. Do you see it? Let me get him on my hands. There he is. Corn earworm. I think that's what that is. Anyway, they're the worms that get inside and destroy the tip of your corn. They leave all that frass in there, all that, go away. Okay, all that corn poo. Now there can be more than one. There can be more than one caterpillar in here. In fact, do you see that right there? This plant is exemplifying what I'm talking about. Do you see the worm in there? That is, these guys are going to town on my corn. Now, or I don't know if you, go away. Yeah, I'm gonna get some spinosad and I'm gonna spray my corn because they are really getting in here. You got to control this when the corn is growing, and it starts as soon as the corn is big enough to start getting, you know, little place for these moths to lay their eggs. They will, and they can ruin your corn plants. You got to stay on top of that. But do you remember when I was saying how corn is sort of a forgiving plant in a lot of ways? It is picky and forgiving. Well, here's how it is forgiving. So I'm going to get in here and sort of do a little bit of surgery on this to try to look. You got to still be real careful, but you can rip the leaves. You can rip the leaves like this to try to find any more. Just don't want to rip the apical meristem off the growing tip. You do need to be really careful about that. Okay, so I think it's looking okay. So when you get corn and you start seeing like these holes right here, you see that frass, the caterpillar poo, you know you got a problem. Sometimes you can see like this was when the corn plant was younger. This is when the caterpillars kind of ate through it to get at the tip. They like to get in that nice juicy tip there. And you try to take some tweezers and get these guys. And I guess some people do that. I don't have the patience for it. I know I won't get them all because they're like microscopic when they're first laid. And so I'm gonna spray spinosad. You can use BT. BT works really well too. I just think the spinosad works better. It lasts longer for me. That one's really bad off. Yeah. Kill season isn't quite over, but unfortunately you have to start corn during the kill season. And then, oh, look how many. Do you see? There's 3 of them right there. I don't know if you can see that, but there's 3 of them. Ugh. All right, yeah, it's spinosad time. Okay, guys, I just got done, pardon the hair. I just got done spinosading my corn, and you saw all those horrible, horrible little caterpillars in there. So they were gonna devastate my corn, but I wasn't gonna let them. So here's the corn now. It has been spinosaded. I imagine that it won't have a lot of problems with that for the next little while anyhow. But my corn at this point is 21 days old. And it is, so there's a full 3 weeks since I actually planted this seed. I believe only 13 days since I've transplanted it outside. Oh, and let me show you. Over here are the 3 of the 5 ones that I planted directly into the bed here because I didn't have enough to finish this row off for the starts that I had. But look at this. Look how big they are relative to these guys. I mean, they're not that far behind. So, you know, there may be about 2-3 inches difference between them all. Like I said, you know, a week difference isn't going to be huge in corn time. They'll catch up. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that. So y'all, you can see my corn. It's all flopping over. The winds the last couple of days have been really strong. And so my poor little corn is gonna need some help. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stake it up until it gets a little bit burlier and tough. This is an awkward stage for corn. I mean, it's like a young teenage boy. Long, lanky, little uncoordinated, not very strong. We'll see how it goes. By the way, I planted some chamomile all throughout here to attract some pollinators. It also happens to have some other properties that I'll have to tell you later because I can't remember right now. Okay, so remember when I was digging through the corn plant about a week ago or so, and I was telling you how forgiving it is if you just kind of rip the leaves apart and dig at the worms to try to get them out or whatever it is you're going for? Well, this is how it's come along since the week after that, and you can see it's growing just fine. The tip is just fine. Corn is just really a good guy that way. It's very helpful. It's very forgiving. There's other ways it's not forgiving in the nutrition department, but you can see here the leaves are doing fantastic, and so is the rest of the plant. September 6th. Just want to show you how the corn's doing. Generally speaking, it's growing well. I did just water it yesterday, but I wanted to show you something about the corn leaf here. If you can see how the corn generally is kind of a lightish medium green, but do you see how it's kind of stripy here, where little dark and light green stripes? It's needing nitrogen, so I did feed it some liquid fertilizer to give it some quick nitrogen, and then I put some other things with high nitrogen for slow release. Anyway, I like for my corn to be a nice dark green, and that's not dark, not by a long shot. When I was growing it in the pools, it was dark. So I like it to be about the color of these Puerto Rican black beans, that nice dark green color. Then pull off a piece of the leaf and take it over here next to one of the corn leaves and show you the difference. So, I mean, that's kind of the difference we're talking about. So I really need to kind of start babying the corn with some nitrogen, especially, you know, like I said, don't want to stress it out.